And recording. Okay, and we're recording. So hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today. Topic of today's webinar is understanding how you get paid. So this is an attempt to simplify kind of the entire compensation structure of doTERRA. So let's get started. It's not so bad, I promise. Don't be afraid. If you're afraid, take a deep breath, and we'll get going. All right, let me get my cursor here. Okay, cool. So goals for this webinar. Let's set some expectations, right? I'm going to tell you who I am if you don't know. We're going to understand how your paycheck is calculated, all the line items on that. We're going to demystify dynamic compression. Again, if that makes you, gives you like heart palpitations, another deep breath, it's going to be okay. We're going to see why it matters to hold on to enrollments, some other strategic things there, see how rank advancements can affect payouts. That all kind of ties back to dynamic compression and how it works. And then we're going to walk through all of the available bonuses within doTERRA. So that is what we're going to cover. Whoa, not questions, hold on. I somehow went to the very end. Hold on. Let's try that again. Okay, why does any of this matter? Three things. One, it's going to give you confidence. Just personally knowing where your money is coming from is important, right? So this is going to give you some confidence and not just sort of wishy-washy, not fully understanding. It's going to give you competence. So when you are talking to builders on your team and trying to explain to them how they can get paid with doTERRA, it's going to give you, again, that competence to know what you're talking about and be able to get that across to them in a way that makes sense. And then strategy as well. Like I said, there's certain things related to dynamic compression and the payout structure that can lead to some strategic choices in how you place and when you give up enrollments and things like that. So let's get started. So first of all, is that right? Yeah. Who am I? What gives me the right to host this webinar? So if you're coming to this from one of the back office toolkit pages or groups, then you probably already know at least a little bit about who I am. But my name's Nathan. I am a web developer. I am a doTERRA wellness advocate. And sort of those two things combined over the last few years, really since I started with doTERRA and kind of looking at it as a developer, looking at the back office, looking at how is doTERRA calculating things about our volume and our rank and how we're getting paid. And then really wanting to be able to look ahead at upcoming LRP volume and say how would knowing what is scheduled to go be placed, the volume that's to be placed on our team, how, if we knew that ahead of time, how could that be calculated in today? So there's actually a whole platform I developed, Back Office Toolkit, that does that. It takes into account upcoming LRP to run all the same calculations that doTERRA does for like last month's volume when they're running commissions, but it does it today for the current month, looking at where you are right now and also where you're headed. So in doing that, in developing that platform, I was really got very familiar, right, with how these things are calculated, everything that goes into them, and sort of reverse engineering some of the stuff that doTERRA is doing to do these calculations. So that's sort of the place that I'm coming from in having walked through that and really sort of written the code to do the stuff that they're doing, and now I'm trying to present that in a clear way today. So let's look high level at the sources of payout that are available within doTERRA. All right, so first we have retail commissions, and we'll cover all this in order. So we've got retail commissions, that's one way you can make money. Unilevel commissions, and then bonuses. And the bonuses break out into Power 3, Fast Start, and then the last three are tied to rank. And those are your empowerment bonuses, performance pools, and diamond pools. So we'll look at each of those and how they contribute to your paycheck. And before we get any deeper, let's talk about some terms that'll get thrown around. PV is kind of a funny one because it really has two meanings within doTERRA. When you hear people talk PV, that both means your personal volume, so that's the amount of point value that you've ordered in the month, right? That's your personal volume or the point value of the products that you've ordered. It also means, you know, the PV is point value, right? So you have point value of products, you have your sort of personal volume, and then OV is organizational volume. That is the total PV for everybody on your entire team, including yourself. Team volume, we'll see when we talk about the Power of 3 bonus. That is sort of what I call a frontline organization. So it's you and all of your direct sponsor frontline, right? Everyone who's sponsored one level under you. All of that volume is called your team volume. And that includes standard orders, just one-time orders, and also LRP orders. Same with OV, organizational volume, is all orders underneath you. CV is commissionable volume. That's something you'll actually see. It's called GCV on, if you look at like a breakdown of your check within the back office, you can get a PDF that shows you that. CV can change based on like the region that you're in. Some products have a different commissionable volume than what the PV is. It's kind of something that there's no like list of this is the commissionable volume for every product, but it's factored into some things we'll see later. The level is where someone is placed on your sponsor tree. So, well, sponsor or enroller. So there's two levels, right? You have people that you directly enroll are your first level enrollments, and you have second level will be their enrollments. That's the enroller tree. And then when you do a sponsor placement, when you move somebody, that's changing their level within your sponsor tree. So those are the two levels, and then paid level is what we're going to see with dynamic compression. And that is the level, the sponsor level, that someone is actually paid at underneath you after they're compressed. So again, don't be afraid. We will cover that in detail. I think it'll make a lot of sense. All right, we're going to first cover PV sort of cart requirements to earn compensation. So these are the requirements to earn Unilevel commission or bonuses. The first is for Unilevel commission. If you just want to be paid the first level, the sort of 2% payout as a consultant, you only need to place a 50 PV order. There's no other requirements. You just have to have a 50 PV order that processed that month, and you'd be eligible to receive that 2% Unilevel commission. For anything higher than that, you have to be a manager or higher, and you have to have a total of 100 plus volume, PV volume for that month to earn those other commissions. And there are other requirements, which we'll see when we talk about Unilevel in detail, as far as what the overall volume and qualifying leg requirements are for those other ranks. So the PV for Unilevel does not need to be from LRP. It can be from a combination of LRP or standard orders. It just needs to total either 50 or 100. Oops, make it down. So next we've got, for the Fast Start bonus, you have to have a 100 or higher PV LRP order in your cart when the Fast Start bonus is calculated. So Fast Start is calculated weekly. They run that on Wednesday. So when doTERRA goes and crunches the numbers to say, you know, who of your personal enrollments or your second or your third level enrollments, which I'll talk about in a second, have placed orders in the past week, that you should be paid fast start bonus on, that they're within their 6-day window. All that calculation is done on Wednesday. And when they go to do that, they're going to look at your cart today, on that day. If you don't have a 100 LRP order template sitting there, then you're not commissionable for fast start bonus. So they pass you up. If you have that template in place in your cart when they run it, you'll get a check the next week for whatever it is for that fast start bonus. But if that template doesn't process by the end of the month that you were paid, they will claw that back. So they'll sort of take that money back the next time that you are paid. So that template has to process. All right, for power of 3, you have to have a total of 100 plus, or more PV LRP. It can come from multiple LRP orders, but it has to be LRP. There's the other components of power of 3, which we'll talk about in a minute, are dependent on other members of your team. But as far as your own cart requirement, as if everything else is in place, you have to have 100 plus PV, and it has to be LRP. So the rule of thumb, to be safe, is to always keep a 100 or higher PV LRP order in your cart at all times. You'll never have an issue. You will never miss a fast start bonus because it was too low, or any other commission if it's not where you want it to be. So keep that at 100 if you are trying to earn commissions. So that is all of the cart requirements for earning with doTERRA. All right, so we're going to talk about the different ways you can get paid now. All right, here we go. So first is retail orders. This is sort of the simplest and least common, probably, source of income for people in doTERRA. You will earn a 25% commission on all retail purchases. So people can place retail orders that get linked to you in one of two ways. Either they go to your doTERRA personalized website that you can access through your back office, and they go there and they shop and they decide to pick some products and check out with those products. And in the checkout process, they just check out as a retail guest, right? They're not creating an account. So that volume, you will earn 25% of that. The other way that someone can sort of link a non-member, right, a retail order to you would be using the link generator. So you can find that in the back office under your account profile and then link generator. That would be, there's another place you can find it too. But that's where it's at. And in that, you can go and you can add your member ID and then say a kit or a individual oil or product or whatever. And you'll get a unique link that will go directly to that product, and that page and the whole checkout experience within that will be connected to you as a retail order. Again, they have the option when they go to actually check out to sign up or to check out as retail. So that's retail orders. Unilevel commissions. All right. First, so I'm not seeing. Hold on. Chat. Link generator be used for customers only? Yes, for customers, and yes. The link generator links if you're not signed into doTERRA at all and you send one of those links to just a random person, they can go in, they can purchase product, whatever you've linked them to, and then they can check out as a retail customer. So Unilevel, I was going to say, if you want to ask a question, just either drop it in the chat or in the Q&A section of this webinar, and I'll try to get to the questions at the end. Okay, so Unilevel commission. You can earn up to 7 levels of commission for orders placed on your team. Okay. Potentially, you get higher earnings for orders that are placed deeper in your downline sponsor tree. And I say potentially because dynamic compression applies. So you can have orders that are placed very low on in your team, deeply nested in your team, but because of dynamic compression, they may not actually pay you, that high of a percentage of earning. And we'll look at some examples of why that could be. Oops. This is the Unilevel organizational bonus chart. I have this, pulled up a lot. It's a really handy reference. This is from doTERRA's website, and it's just a really nice chart to outline the different ranks and the requirements. So the top section is showing requirements for each rank, and then where it has level 1 through level 7, that's showing the Unilevel percentage payout that each rank is eligible for. So you kind of read this chart by saying, look at, say, executive here, and you would go down. You say the monthly PV requirement for executive is 100. We can see everything from manager and higher is a 100 PV order requirement. The monthly OV, that's that organizational volume. So your entire team has to have, a total of 2,000 overall volume, including yourself and everyone underneath you. There's no qualified legs in this case, no leg requirements. And then as executive, you're eligible for level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 payouts. And you would earn 2% on the first level, 3%, 5, and 5. And we'll look at what that means in a second. When it comes to qualifying legs, I'm gonna just make a quick note. So like for silver here, you need 3. So you need to have your own 100 PV order. The monthly OV requirement has a star because there's not a strict number that it has to be. It's gonna end up being at least 9,000 because you need 3 qualified legs, and those qualified legs need to each be elite. And we see over here that an elite has 3,000 volume. So you're going to have at least 9,000, but it could be, higher than that. So I guess we could talk. I wasn't planning on covering this, but yeah. So qualified legs is interesting. The definition, okay, of a qualified leg is, let me get this right. So if you, this would be better with a diagram. So you have a qualified leg has to be personally enrolled to you directly. All right. So say you enroll 3 people. Those 3 people, you could move them their sponsorship, right? You could move them to be like one underneath the other, so they're in a straight line, right? Everyone is sponsoring the next person. So you have 3 people you're personally enrolled, but they're all sponsored in a vertical. That you could only use one of those people to be your qualifying leg, right? Because they're nested underneath each other. That's sort of the general rule of how qualified legs are defined. So if you have an enrollment that's your personal enrollment, but they're nested down somewhere on your sponsor tree, what you need to do is see, and you want to use that person as your enroller or as your qualifier. You need to look at that person's sponsor hierarchy coming back up to you, and you can't use anybody else in that line as, if you have enrollment of other people in that connection, in that line, you can't use any of them also as your qualifier, as your qualifying leg. You only use one of those people. So that is, that's the definition there. Hope that makes sense. I should have had a diagram to sort of show that a little nicer. All right, dynamic compression, here we go. Key concept, and this is sort of a paradigm shift. When you probably have heard about doTERRA's Unilevel commission, and you hear the term, we get paid 7 levels deep, right? We get paid down 7 levels. That's not really a great way to think about it or to look at it. The better way to think about it is that every single order, anywhere within your team, anywhere within the entire company of doTERRA, every individual order pays 7 levels up, right? So no matter where that order is located, it's gonna go up and try to pay out 7 levels of commission, okay? And your rank and the rank of everybody between you and where that order was placed, right, will determine what level, right, what percentage of commission you are eligible to receive from that order. So to demonstrate that, we're gonna have a visual example. All right, and I think you guys can see my screen. Please, someone let me know in the chat if you don't see what I'm looking at here. It's like pink and blue and gray and big black box, because we don't want to pay attention to that, even though you're going to see it here in a second. So ignore everything under the black box. All right, we're just looking at the first column here. So let's say that, hold on, someone has a chat. Yes, I can see it. Good. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully, yeah, too much. Okay, right there. Let me move this. And let me get a pen. I'm using my laptop with a stylus here so I can draw on this. Hopefully it'll all work out. Okay, so let's pretend that this is the structure of your team, right? So this is you right here. You're an elite, okay? And this is your your team under you. That is, this is just picking out. You could pretend. All right, you could pretend that this was the structure of your team. So you're here as an elite, right? You've got whatever, some people under you. Say this person's inactive, and under them they've got an elite, and under them they've got an executive. So I'm picking sort of these levels going both down and also up, right? And I'm just picking one person from each level. So this is representing just sort of one chain, but you could imagine that there's 100 other different stacks that are like this, right? So we're looking at this wellness advocate here, but there's also an order that maybe is placed by this account over here, right? And it's gonna follow the same path going up. So for demo purposes, we're just looking at one sort of chain of events here. Let's see. Okay, so the green numbers, okay, are representing the order that each of these people has placed this month. Okay, so down here, this is level 9. So this is 9 levels under us. There's a wellness advocate who's placed a 100 PV order this month. So what doTERRA's system is going to do, it's going to come in and try to say, okay, this 100 PV order, we need to pay out 7 levels, and we're going to start looking up to see where we can pay out the first level of commission. Okay, so going back to, let me go up here. Sorry. All right, so going back to our chart, right? A level 1 commission can be paid out to pretty much anybody who's placed a 50 PV order, right? They don't have to be, there's no other requirements other than a 50 PV order for that month. So the system goes, okay, going up, what's the first account that I come to that's placed at least a 50 PV order? Oh, here it is. So this 105 order from this manager, right? That order is going to get paid 2%, right? So it's looking up at the first option, and it's a match that's going to work. So now the system goes over here and it says, okay, over my level percentage chart, I've satisfied the requirement of that first level payout for this order. Okay, good. So now my system is going and saying, now I need to find someone looking up this sponsor hierarchy, I need to find the next person who's eligible for a second level payout. So we'll look back here at our chart, and a level 2 payout, you have to be at least a manager, right? Manager and up is all eligible to receive that level 2 payout. So now the system's looking for the first essentially manager plus. So it's going to look from where it did its last payout, and it's going to say, okay, one level up. Let's see, this account only placed a 20 PV order, so they're not actually commissionable for anything. So it's going to compress. Sorry. So this little gray arrow is saying that this was a no. It's going to compress over that person. We're still looking for a level 2 payout. This next one is, has a 50 PV order. That means that this person is eligible only for a level 1 payout. So they're not eligible for that level 2 payout that we're looking for. So we're going to skip them too. All right, that was looking here. Now we're looking up again. So we've compressed over that. Now we've got a 120 PV order. We've got a rank of director. So we've got a valid director here, and a director, bingo, is eligible for level 2. So the system's going to say, great, we found one. That's a check. We'll go to our chart and say that's satisfied. Now we've got our level 2 has been paid out, right? And this is, so you can imagine this is paying you. This is all relative to you. It's paying you 2%. So that's your $2 there. And then this one's 3%. So you got $3 there, right off of this 100 PV order. So now we're going up. Now we're looking for a third level. Okay, so who's eligible for third level? Again, it's going to be a director or above. So it's going to skip. This is an inactive account, has no order at all, so it's always going to get skipped, right? So that's a no. I'm going to look up again. Here's an executive. So perfect. An executive can have up to 4 levels, but in this case, they're getting paid level 3 on this order. I'm sorry, this is not relative to you. Sorry, so in this case, this manager got paid the $2. Okay, so we can start adding that to their Unilevel commission. This director got paid $3 on this order. Okay, this executive is going to get paid $5 on this order. Check, and that's our third level. And then we go up again, and we say looking for a fourth level. So we're looking for at least an executive. We're going to find ourselves an elite. That's awesome. He's going to get 5%. So there's $5. Again, this is all coming from this source order, right? So that's that one satisfied. And we keep going up. So we're going to skip this inactive. We're going to go up here. In this example, you as an elite on this order 9 levels deep, you're going to get paid 6%, okay, which is a 6th level payout on an order that was actually 9 levels deep. I hope this is making a whole lot of sense when you see it laid out like this. This is dynamic compression. This is how it works, okay? So all this sort of, right, all these calculations, this is all being done just to figure this one order, how this 100 PV order from this wellness advocate pays out to everybody, all the way up to the first whatever, until it pays out that seventh level. All right, so there can be, you could skip 1 at a time, you skip 2, you could have a whole chain of 10 accounts that get skipped because they're all executives, and the system's looking for a 5th level payout. So it's going to skip all the executives until it finds an elite, or finds a premier, finds somebody who can take that 5th level payout. So essentially, you would go through and do this now for the next account, right? So now we'd be looking at the this 105 PV order, right? So in this case, I can't really erase probably everything in here. Okay, so in this case, this is kind of interesting because this wellness advocate right here, who's 6 levels under you, they were compressed over for when we were looking for a second level payout, because they just had this 50 PV order. They're only eligible for a level 1 payment. So now this and right in the level 1 payment was absorbed by this manager down here on the last example. So when it came to looking at this wellness advocate at level 6, they weren't eligible for level 2 payout. So we're looking now at this manager in the next column. They got 105 PV order. So now we're going to start looking for a first level payout, right? And this consultant with a 20 PV order, he's still going to get skipped, right? He's never going to get paid this month. So now when it gets to this wellness advocate who just has this little $50 order, this 50 PV order, it's the system's looking for a first level payout. So it matches, yay, that guy gets, 2% of $105, 105 PV. And so on. So it's going to go up, and run this way for every order in the chain. And in this case, let me, see if I can get rid of, nope. Yeah, whatever. So in this case, the total payout that you're going to receive on this structure, just on this one set of accounts, is $27.50, right? So that's telling you, how much, what percentage of all these orders added up, and that's just a small part of your Unilevel commission, right? Totally, because like there's all those other sort of channels of orders that are happening under you, and they're all following the same dynamic compression algorithm to figure out when it gets to you, what level of payout is the system trying to assign when it gets to you, right? And are you eligible to receive that level of payout or not? It's either going to skip you over or you're going to receive it. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Please let me know in the comments if that was like great, I understand a little better now, or if this confused you more. I hope not, but let me know if that's the case. About the clearest way I can think of to demonstrate it. So yeah, so that's dynamic compression. All right, I got a couple of chats here. Got it, better understand. Okay, cool. Appreciate that. In this case too, so I have a second example here that uses the same exact structure with one difference. So we're going to look now at this chart, okay? And the difference, the difference between this chart and the last one is that this guy right here, this used to be an inactive account, right? So that person had not placed an order, but now in this example, they went ahead and placed a 100 PV order. They became eligible as an elite because they had, and this happens, right? There are accounts that will sit dormant, and you might be building all this volume underneath them, and then one day they wake up and they realize, oh my goodness, if I just placed a 100 PV order, I'm now going to get a check. I'm going to get some commission for that. So maybe that person woke up, this month, and this was the month that they're going to start realizing their position and start earning commissions. So now kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in things for you, and let me show you why. We are going to look again just at this one column here. Okay, so just pretend that you can't see anything else, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And what's important here, so I'm just gonna check off our little graph over here, a little table. So we've got our 100 PV order here from our 9th level. It's gonna look up. It's gonna find, yes, I can pay out that manager. That's my level 1. Now I'm looking up. I see this director, check. That's getting my level 2. Looking up, I'm finding this executive, check. That's my level 3. Looking up, here's an elite, check. That's my level 4. Now I'm looking for my level 5 payment, right? In the last example, come on. In the last example, this inactive got skipped over, and you, as an elite, were eligible for that 5th level payment. Okay, let's go back to this. So as an elite, you only can earn up to a 5th level payment at 6%. So we're gonna go back here, and in the new example, go to the new example. Oh dear, okay, hold on, it just crashed. Let me launch that again. That was interesting. Okay, so yes, this is the new example, right? That inactive account now is placed in order. It's an elite. It is going to get this checkbox. Check, and it's going to strike off of our table here. Level 5 has now been assigned. That commission has been paid out to the person who's underneath you, right? To that elite. So now the system's looking for a level 6 payout. You are an elite, so it's going to skip over you because you're not eligible for that payment. It's going to go up and up above you to this premier is going to get that 6th level payment. So you're kind of essentially that elite underneath you is absorbing that 5th level payment, and then you can't get it because you're not eligible for 6th. That happens more commonly with silvers. So when you are, say, silver or above, and you're counting on that 7th level payment, thinking that no matter what goes on under your team, as long as everyone under your team is premier or below, you're going to get some commission from sort of everybody under your team, right? It might be that an order is close to you and you get just 2%, 3%. It might be the order super deep and there's just nobody on your team that can absorb that 7th level payout. So you're going to get it as the first silver. That can really affect your Unilevel commission if someone under you suddenly ranks to silver, and they're going to start absorbing that 7th level payment. And for those deep orders that you were getting that, you're now going to be sort of blocked out of that. So that is something to consider when you are building your team. It's kind of, and this gets into some maybe trickier relationship things too, right? And how strategy works in conjunction with relationships and how teams are related. I don't know. You want to help people on your team, absolutely, and you need to build, right? You need to place enrollment somewhere to grow your volume. There is a degree to which you want your builders. You really want to be encouraging your strong builders to be building their own teams. So you're focused on building legs that are, not doing so well. So you don't want to pump too much into a leg where you've got a leader or a builder who's, going crazy and doing really well. You want to sort of let them do their thing, because when they rank, you want that to be, you want to feel really good about that, right? You want to be like, okay, that's you worked hard for that. That's where you're at. This can also, we'll talk about giving up enrollership more related to bonuses. But I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna move on from dynamic compression here. But this is more about just sort of the mechanics, how it all works. There's some more strategy as well that we could talk about another time. So that's the visual example of dynamic compression. Yes. All right, moving on. Yes, moving on indeed. So bonuses. Fast start bonus is paid on new enrollee orders for the first 60 days. So everyone that, sorry, one second. Yeah. So everyone that when they enroll, first 60 days, any orders that they place will pay out 20% to the person who enrolled them, 10% to the person who enrolled that person, and 5% to the person who enrolled that person, right? So 2nd and 3rd level enrollers looking up. That gets paid out weekly. And while someone is in the fast start period, their orders are not calculated into that whole dynamic compression Unilevel commission thing that we just talked about. They're sort of in a separate track. After 60 days, they switch over to Unilevel. Okay. Power of 3 bonus. You can earn either 50, 250, or 1500 for this bonus. It's a structural bonus. Once you reach 1500, you can actually create another, 50, 250, and 1500. So you can end up, I think you can do that more than even twice. I might be wrong about that. As long as you're doing it with new accounts every time, I think you can sort of do as many power of 3s as you want. There are 3 requirements for the $50 bonus. So I'm focusing right now just on, say, you and your $50 bonus, right? So the first requirement is that you yourself have to have a 100 PV total LRP for the month. It doesn't have to be a single order. It's just in the month that you're trying to get this bonus, you have to have a total of 100 or more LRP. Second, you need to have 3 people on your sponsor frontline, so that's sponsored directly under you, who also each have 100 plus total LRP for the month. And the third requirement is that total team PV that's yourself plus your entire frontline, all orders, LRP and standard orders, has to be 600 or higher. So if those 3 components are in place, then you get a $50 bonus, right? Then to go for the 250, you duplicate those 3 requirements on all 3 of those people that were specified here in step 2, right? So the 3 people on your sponsor frontline who have their 100 PV orders in place, each of them now has to implement these 3 requirements for themselves and their frontline. And then to go for the 1500, you take all of those, now you've got 9 people on the front line, and each of them has to do the same thing with their 3 people that are qualifying them for that number 2 component, right? So there's a neat diagram that just sort of lays it out visually, but that's the way the structure works. And the thing people get hung up on probably the most is the number 3 component, that total team volume is yourself and everyone directly sponsored to you. And it's not just LRP, it's LRP and also standard orders, total volume for the month. Okay, good. Just gonna check the chat real quick. Okay, cool. Next, we've got empowerment bonuses. So this bonus pays out 1 share of a 1% pool. So it's the way that the rest of the bonuses work, they're all based off of shares of these global volume pools, right? So doTERRA says in December of 2019, total commissionable volume for the entire organization is, I don't even know what the number ends up being. It's big, right? So some huge number. We're going to carve out, say, 1% of that, right? And that becomes the empowerment bonus pool. And then everybody who's eligible for this empowerment bonus gets 1 share. So it gets divided up by however many people are eligible for it, right? Because each person gets 1 share. So say you've got, this one ends up being about $200 for the month. Sometimes less, 180, 190, sometimes more, depending on, obviously depending on the global volume for that month. So yeah, so you divide that 1% up amongst everyone involved. It's only available to Premier and Silver ranks. And in order to qualify for this bonus, you have to be one of those ranks and also personally enroll at least one person with 100 plus PV order in the month that you want to be eligible. You can only get the 1 share. So if you enroll 50 people in a month, you still just get 1 empowerment bonus share. There are 2 performance pools. So there's a leadership performance pool. The leadership performance pool, you can earn shares of a 2% global volume pool. So now they're taking 2% of doTERRA's total overall global volume. They've carved out now for this pool. Anybody who's eligible, depending on how many shares they have, right? It's like, how many tickets do you have in the raffle? Well, not really. Anyway, yeah, so you get a certain slice of that depending on how many shares you have in the pot. Yeah. So this is only available to silver, gold, and platinum ranks. If you're silver, you get 1 share. If you're gold, you get 5 shares. And if you're platinum, you get 10 shares in that bucket. And then for every personal enrollment that is linked to you who hits elite for the first time in that month gives you 1 additional share, right? So if you've enrolled 1,000 people and 10 of them rank to elite this month, you get 10 extra shares in this leadership performance pool. The other performance pool is the diamond performance pool, same concept. This is carved out of a 1% global volume pool, and it's only available to diamond, blue, and presidential ranks. By the way, these, okay, and you get 1 share, 2 share, or 3 shares depending on your rank. So these, you get fewer shares of a smaller pool because it's being shared amongst fewer people, right? There's obviously less diamonds, blue diamonds, and presidential diamonds than there are, silvers and golds, and yeah. So it ends up being, a lot, but it's because it's divided amongst a smaller group of people. And here you can have, you can earn an additional share for every personal enrollment who hits premier for the first time in that month. So these are kind of interesting concept too. These additional shares for if you give up enrollment, right, of somebody, and by doing that you enable someone else to rank, right, for the first time in that month, you would earn an extra share kind of for doing that. So if you have an enrollment and you're thinking it's probably going to be beneficial for me to give this enrollment up to this builder who I want to support, it would be a good idea to wait until doing so would rank them in a way that gives you a share in one of these performance pools. That would be a smart move. The next set of bonuses are diamond pools. So there it is, the diamond pool. This gives you 3 shares of a 1% global volume pool, only available to diamonds, and you get an additional share for every personal enrollment who hits premier. It's very similar to the last one. There is a blue diamond pool, same thing, 3 shares, only available to blue diamonds, and you get the same additional shares for first-time premiers. And then the presidential diamond pool is the same number of shares of the global pool, only for presidentials, and you get an additional share for every first-time silver. So again, these can get even bigger because your presidentials is a smaller group, still out of a 1% global volume pool. You're getting quite a bit more of a chunk of that pool, right? Because you're dividing it amongst fewer and fewer people. So that's the way those sort of balance themselves out. They might look like those bonuses are getting less and less as they get into the higher ranks, but they're actually bigger and bigger bonuses because the number of participants is getting smaller at each level. Yeah. So that sort of concludes all the ways you can get paid, right? You got retail, you got Unilevel, you got bonuses. If any of this seems still to be a little complicated, if you haven't heard of this tool I created, I just want to pitch it here, go check this thing out. So the back office toolkit is this easier way to do all these things. So it's using your current order volume. It knows the state of where you are right now. It calculates dynamic compression. It knows about qualifying legs. It knows all the things that doTERRA is doing to calculate what you're going to earn. You can see right now, you can estimate what you're planning to earn before you actually get paid. You can see what someone else on your team like I talked about, people who are not commissionable because they haven't placed an order, right? And maybe they're waiting until they can be fairly confident that they're going to earn a substantial commission before they decide to make the investment to become commissionable, right? To start making that $100 fee order. With the toolkit, you can actually go in and say, hey, right now you're not doing anything, you're not placing an order, but if you did, here's what you could stand to earn. You can test how giving up an enrollment can affect your rank. So you can go and look at a rank planner and actually change the way the qualifiers are set up in a way that couldn't actually happen without you giving up an enrollment, but it calculates it as if you did. There's a great way to view your Power 3 structure, both for yourself and for anybody on your team, which is awesome for like mentor calls where you're wanting to work with a builder to strategize. You can put yourself right in their shoes and see everything about their team, including this Power 3 structure and a bunch of other stuff. So if you're interested in a tool like that, I would invite you to check out www.backofficetoolkit.net. That is where you go for information. There's lots of great training, great support. There's a Facebook presence for that. I'm very involved in that, so check it out. And if you have any questions, we're kind of at the end. I saw one Q&A thing. I thought that any level that does not have a minimum 100 PV order gets added to the next level above that is at least 100 PV. It's calculated at percent of below. So Paola, I've heard that, or something similar to that concept. That's not how dynamic compression works though. So what I described with dynamic compression, like the back office toolkit uses that algorithm to calculate commissions before they're actually run, where you can look back at the last month and have the toolkit run commissions for you, and you can compare that to what you actually earned. And it ends up being really close. It's not exact because of things like that commissionable volume that sometimes the point value isn't actually what the commission is run off of. So which is like individual per product, and it's not something that I can account for, but as an estimation, it's usually really, really close. So it's what I described is definitely the way that dynamic compression works. Be curious where you heard the other thing. I was hoping you would do a demo using the back office toolkit to run commissions. Yes, and to see where others on our team are getting paid. Right. Let's see. Okay, so technically we're kind of done with the webinar, the content of the webinar right now. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna jump in just real. I'm not sure if this is actually still gonna. I don't have my demo running right now for the toolkit, so I'm just gonna see if this works. If it doesn't, just forgive me. I think that maybe might work. Nope. So that's not right. Okay, sorry. So I'm not exactly sure. I don't want to mess with it right now because it'll end up probably not going well if I try to launch the demo right now. So I would be happy to do that maybe on the next, within the Facebook group. I'm going to be going live every Tuesday for a Toolkit Tuesday sort of support call. I can go through and cover commissions as it's presented within the toolkit. Maybe this coming Tuesday, if you want to join me there, if that makes sense. Okay. I don't see any other questions. I'm located in Australia. Hold on one second. And I'm wondering if these recordings will be available to watch later. Yes, I am. Well, Lisa Kostri might not be on still, but I'm going to make sure you get that recording. Thanks. Okay, in the Facebook group name, you can search for back office toolkit, just do a search. There's 2 groups. If you're already using the platform, there is a members only group that you can join. And if you're not using it yet, there is a back office toolkit with Nate, the back office ninja, is the name of the other group. And that's sort of a public group. So you can request to join that, and I'll get you approved there. All right, cool. I'm going to stop the recording now. I think we're all done. I'll get this. I'll get the recording posted up to Facebook, and I'll do it on the public page so you can share it if you would like to. All right, it's still here. Okay, cool. Yes, we'll do it. And then next month we'll do a whole in-depth demo just of the toolkit. We can give it a test drive at another time because I got to get home. All right, cool. Good night, everybody. And again, thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope it made sense. All right, peace out.